gonna start streaming and I'm gonna play a little. Dropped frames is 0. Dropped frames is 0. In data.
It's probably because it was on 1080.
1080.
I'd say.
Bit rate's a little high, but it was last time too. That's
It's
okay.
All right.
All
It
right.
looks like we're back.
I think we're back. Woo! Let's go. Shout out Dylan O'Connor. Thank you very much. He's the technical mastermind behind the stream. Man, here we are back. Day Zero podcast, episode number 2. I apologize for all the technical difficulties we've had. We didn't have that last week. Last week, everything worked fine. I didn't change anything from last week to this week, but
Jack broke it.
It's all good. It's all good.
Jack touched things. When Jack touches things, they stop working.
Yeah,
so
I guess
it's
so.
just a normal occurrence.
I guess so.
Wow, pause.
Hey, hold on. So we're gonna get right into this.
Anyways.
We're gonna get right into this Day Zero podcast, episode 2. Ladies and gentlemen, everybody tuning in, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm gonna go ahead and bring the music down right here, but we are back again. We apologize for that little technical hiccup there, but it's all good. You know, we stay calm, we get after it, and it's a good time. You know, so yeah, man, I'm excited to be back for episode 2. Kind of like Dylan was saying before we got off. If you guys caught that, if you guys didn't, the YouTube link to Day Zero Training Podcast is going to be in the chat on all platforms. So you can go ahead, click through that. Then you'll be able to watch episode 1 VOD and episode 2 VOD in a couple days. Episode 1 will go live right after this recording, and episode 2 will go live in a couple days after we get everything processed and stuff like that. We're on a couple of other channels. Dylan, if you want to go ahead and shout those out as well.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously, as Jack said, guys, welcome back to soon to be the #1 training and fitness podcast.
Yes, sir.
On all platforms. We are just going to do a quick plug because we are sellouts and we want to grow this thing into something extremely cool. So shout out to all the different platforms. We are now already live on Spotify, soon to be on Apple Podcast, YouTube, as Jack said, as well as Twitch, Kick, and X. So if you guys are watching from any of those places, or if you want to watch in any of those places / listen, if you're on the audio platforms, make sure you guys drop a follow. If you are on the audio platforms like Spotify, make sure you leave a 5-star review, because ultimately that's what's going to help us grow and help us get out to more listeners and provide this information and entertainment that we are working so graciously on for all of you guys. For those that don't know, it's 5 a.m. in the morning for me in Australia when we do these things. So I have to get up hella early to make it fit with mine and Jack's schedule. So we do appreciate every single one of you tuning in each week, and it's going to be each week for all of you. So you guys know where to be. Make sure you're following us on X / Twitter. I still call it Twitter all the time, so I got to remember it's X, because that's usually where we tweet it out when we are going live. And Jack, I think, is just about to post a tweet saying we are live on X.
Yep, it's there.
To make sure everyone knows where to go and when to go for it. But yeah, welcome back to episode number 2. It feels so strange saying that, because every single podcast is like, welcome back to episode 300, and I'm like, episode 2. But yeah, nonetheless, we're going to be cranking these out every week, so it's going to go fast, and I know it will.
Yep.
Happy holidays to everyone in the US that's celebrating Thanksgiving weekend. You know, we don't celebrate it here in Australia, but like I was mentioning before, we had the technical difficulties. I did get to experience that when I was living in the States, so I know what that's like, and I know how blessed everyone is over the holiday period. So yeah, happy Thanksgiving weekend, Jack. Happy Thanksgiving weekend to the listeners. We love you all, and I hope you guys are having some good time with family, good food, good vibes, and we'll talk about that a little bit with meal planning and things today. Topic of conversation for a little bit is going to be diet plans, and more specifically during the holiday season. So we'll make sure you're not being a little bit too egregious with how much you're eating. I know Jack loves that word. He uses it all the time. I don't know if I said it in the right context, but I'm just trying to sound smart next to this guy. So we'll make sure we're not eating too much, but still able to enjoy some of the holiday food. So I'm going to swing it over to Jack because he's got a few things he wants to talk about as well
Yeah,
today.
egregious and amalgamation. Those are the two words.
Amalgamation. That was the one from last week.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, well, before we get into this week, we just wanted to recap a little bit of what we went through last week. And so last week we kind of touched on bro science versus like sports science and how those things can be intertwined, and how there's a lot of people who just focus on one or the other, but how I think it's really important for us to kind of bridge that gap between working hard and for lack of a better term, getting the fuck after it, and for paying attention to research and new research, and being aware of what's going on, and what are the best ways to grow your biceps, what are the best ways to grow your legs. There's a lot of science that's the baseline for a lot of sports science that's the baseline for a lot of that bro science. So we kind of talked about that. We also went through a little bit of a Olympia recap. We talked a little bit too about social media last week. So if you guys are interested in that, we talked a little bit about some injuries we've experienced. So if you guys are interested in stuff like that, definitely go check out episode 1. But yeah, we went through the Olympia a little bit, and then we wrapped it up from there. And so this week it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. Like we said, it's the holiday season. There's a lot going on. It'll be a little bit longer next week, but this week definitely a little bit of a shorter one. But we're going to touch on two things, two big things today. And like Dylan mentioned, we're going to talk about how to transition from no diet to a diet, and how to adjust your diet for the holiday season. Because I think there's a lot of noise, a lot of misinformation out there on Instagram through posts or whatever, or reels that people are making, and a lot of it's unhealthy, and you got to pay attention to what works and what's true. And then we're going to talk a little bit about partial reps, which is kind of a new conversation in the lifting community, newer conversation in the lifting community. So, let's kind of jump into it, kick things off. It's the holiday season, right? Happy holidays to everybody, everybody here, everybody worldwide tuning in, like Pitbull.
It's worldwide.
But yeah, let's start with that because it's relevant. I know a lot of people, I think, might feel some guilt, from days like Thanksgiving or going to parties. A lot of people don't, but we definitely want to touch on that a little bit, and specifically in diet plans. So I guess what I kind of wanted to start with that is from the perspective of somebody who as a trainer working with people and their goals, and helping them manage their goals and their vision for where they want to be. Like Dylan, you texted me the other day, like 1 to 2 meals during the holiday season. You're at a party, you're at a family gathering, you're at whatever, a meal or two. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to destroy your diet. It's not going to wreck your plans for losing the weight. It's the experience of being with family, being with friends, spending time with the people that you love is way more important than making sure you are, sticking to an incredibly strict diet. Now, I'm not speaking to people who are on prep, who are prepping for a show, who have specific, sports needs that they're trying to do. If you're playing in whatever, and you need to eat a certain way, then definitely keep doing that. But for the general population who is just trying to balance a good diet and the holiday season, 1 to 2 meals isn't going to take you down for sure, especially if you're trying to lose weight. If you're trying to gain weight, it can only help you. But if you're trying to lose weight specifically, a meal like that is going to keep your brain a lot more sane. It's important that we talk about and pay attention to all those aspects of comprehensive wellness. And so, that's kind of what I wanted to lead that conversation off with. But Dylan, whatever you got on that, go ahead for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. And that's like Jack was saying, like it's one of those things where you get to we call it the silly season or the holiday season, where you're not as on top of everything that you're trying to go through. You're not on top of tracking your food. You're not on top of this and that. Like, you can't always control what you're going to eat at these family gatherings. Like, you know, your grandparents are always going to be like, "Oh, you didn't eat enough, eat more," and you're like bursting at the seams in your pants. Like, it's one of those things. Like, you can't always control it, man. Like, you don't want to just not eat anything, and you don't want to be like, "Oh, I need to like weigh out everything that I'm putting into my body right now." Like, no, man. Like, just enjoy the holiday, eat what you're gonna eat. Like, but I also understand, like Jack said, if you are training for something, if you're competing, if you're you know in a sport, or you're in a competition that's coming up, like, you need to understand that, like, you can't go crazy for the whole holiday period, because you're just gonna backtrack and lose the progress you've made. But like, understanding where the line is, like, yeah, like, I can enjoy this, and I can have a good plate, and have a nice meal with my family, or a couple of nice meals with my family, and still be relatively on track. Like, don't psychologically ruin yourself because you think that, oh, I can't eat this food that everyone else is eating, or, oh, I can't do this and that and that. Food still has protein, food still has carbs, food still has fats. Like, you're just intaking a little bit more during the holidays. you know if anything, like, one thing that I remember about, like, when I was in the States and was celebrating Thanksgiving, was like, one plate was like the size of two plates. Like, you'd stack that up and you'd eat it, and by the time you finished eating it, bro, all you wanted to do was sleep. Like, we called it the itis, because you'd want to fall asleep
I've
afterwards. Like,
never
you were
heard that.
so full. You were so full. Shout out my man Ricky for coming up with that. Um, you would be so full that you would fall asleep, and like, you basically miss your next meal. So it's like, yeah, you're eating like a massive meal, but like, you're probably missing your next one because you're sleeping for the next like 3 hours. And so it kind of balances out. Like, you don't have to go crazy with, oh, I'm only gonna have like 50 grams of this, and I'm only gonna have 100 grams. Like, no, bro, just feel like, eat your plate. Like, whatever you want to put on your plate, put on your plate, and just understand that, like, yeah, if you do indulge and you do have a little bit more, like, you're gonna have to put in a little bit more work afterwards, whether it's trying to walk it off the next day, or staying in the gym a little bit longer and things like that to burn some extra calories. Like, that's just the stuff you need to do to stay in shape. But it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the holiday season. Like, Jack, I'm sure you've been enjoying some time with family. I'm sure you've had some nice plates that you've indulged in and eaten over this weekend, and probably more to come, I would say. You don't see you out there with a scale measuring the food that you're putting down on the
Not on
plate.
Thanksgiving, no.
You not on Thanksgiving. No, exactly. Like, it's a time to celebrate. It's a time to eat good food with good people, and I don't think people need to be crazy about it. So yeah, that's just kind of my take. Just knowing that, these meals over this weekend, and even over Christmas weekend as well, if you're celebrating Christmas, um, they don't need to. You don't need to stress about them too much, is what I'm trying to say. Like, don't drive yourself crazy thinking, oh, I have to track this, oh, I have to do it. Like, no, bro. Like, it's calories in, calories out. Like, you enjoy your meals, just get some extra steps in tomorrow. Like, you're gonna be fine. Don't drive yourself crazy trying to stay on track with that. Holiday seasons are meant for family, and with family comes food, and we love that, and we wouldn't have it any other way. So just take it as it is, and don't rack your brain trying to fix it.
Yeah. Yeah, my coach says something really incredible that I want to echo in here is that uh, if you've been following the plan, if you've been showing up to your workouts, if you've been really attacking that diet plan, if you're on a diet plan, or even if you're not, if you've been tracking your calories, if you've been working hard and putting in the effort, it's important to have stuff like a Thanksgiving meal with your family. And obviously, a plate of food is okay. You don't need to have 4 or 5 plates. Like, don't feel pressure to do that. But uh, if you've been putting
If
the
you want
work in,
to.
you're right. If you've been putting the work in, if you've been putting that time in, if you've been showing up to better yourself, um, enjoy that time. Enjoy that time because it takes
Mhm.
sacrifice right outside of these holidays to get to the point that you want to be at. And so it's
Yes, sir.
important to take the time with family, with friends during the holidays to really be present in those moments. And I think eating that meal kind of speaks to more of just being present in the moment, spending time with family or friends or whatever it is. Um, one drink isn't gonna totally fuck up your diet. One meal isn't gonna totally fuck up your diet. Um, and in fact, it's gonna set you up better for success in the future because uh, then you're going to the gym the next day and you had a great experience. You had a great dinner
Yeah.
with your family, right?
Yeah.
You had a great time with your friends. You had good laughs and conversations, and it's important not only for our physical health but our mental health to allow our body to engage in stuff like that. So, um, yeah, that's kind of all I had to touch on. I'm really glad you brought that to me yesterday, Dylan, because uh, tis the season, and it's important
Tis
to understand that the season doesn't need to mean uh, beating yourself up, right?
right. For
Um,
sure, for sure.
yeah, for sure.
100%.
Before we move on, real quick, yo, Josh Hellman and Kevin McConnell, I see you guys chatting in the X chat over there. I just wanted to give you guys a quick shout out. Let's go, Day Zero Squad. Let's go, baby, Day Zero Squad.
Let's
Let's fucking
go.
get
Yes,
it.
sir.
And Kevin asks,
Appreciate you, fam.
how much pie did you guys eat? Uh,
No comment.
I didn't eat any pie. I did have 3 cookies, which I haven't had a cookie. I haven't had any kind of sweets like that in like 4 months. So I was salivating. That's the word for
Yeah,
today's
bro.
podcast is salivating.
Yeah,
Um,
salivating.
so
Word of the day.
yeah. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Mattia, also in the X chat. Thank you, brother, for showing some love. Much love, much love.
Let's go.
Get in
Let's
here, Day
go.
Zero Squad, baby. Let's fucking go. So
Love y'all.
yeah, let's transition a little bit, Dylan, if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
Into talking about going from no diet to a diet,
Hmm.
and how that transition can be mentally, emotionally, some challenges that we can kind of run into, but also some good things about doing that. So I kind of wanted to ask, like, what was your? I know you've been on like a bulk and a cut and swapped between them, but any kind of
Hmm.
diet you've transitioned to, what has been your experience like moving from diet plan to diet plan and stuff like that, and kind of how does that feel for you?
Yeah, man. Like, and obviously, like, something about training consistently is that you've always got to be at least a little bit aware of your diet and at least a little bit aware of what you're eating. You're not going to make progress in the right way if you're not, staying on top of your food. And it's one thing, it doesn't matter if you're looking to bulk and add size, it doesn't matter if you're looking to cut down and lose weight or fat or whatever. Your food is a primary part of that. You can't just go and train hard and expect all of this weight to fall off or expect all this muscle to pound on, like, if you're not eating the right things. And so, I guess for me, I've been doing it for so long now that it's automatic. I've weighed out food enough times on a cut and I've weighed out food enough times on a bulk that I can now essentially eyeball it and just be like, yeah, that's about 50 grams of this, or yeah, that's about 100 grams of this. Like, you kind of know once you've done it for long enough what it looks like. Whereas, like, someone starting completely fresh, you know, maybe they've been out of training for a while, maybe they've just been eating whatever they cook or whatever their partner cooks or whatever, and they want to start to get back into shape. That's one of the things where you need to be accountable for what your intake is going to be. You need to stay on top of your food. And for me, I've gone through periods where I'll just eat whatever. Like, you would know, like, prime example, like living at home, if your parents are cooking, you just eat what they're cooking. Like, it's not, you know, they're not sitting in the kitchen for you weighing out 100 grams of rice and 100 grams of chicken. Like, no, they're not doing that for you. So they're just making whatever they're gonna make, and you get stuck with eating it until, like, of course, now, like, when we're a bit older and stuff and we can manage food ourselves, like, we can make our own food. But, like, you think about, out of high school and stuff, if you're living at home, you don't always have that choice. Like, you're probably not earning enough to buy your own groceries, so you're just having whatever your parents are cooking. So one thing is, when you are first starting to get into a diet, or looking into dieting, like, you need to understand your calorie intake, you need to understand your macros, And one thing that I've noticed over a lot of people that I've spoken to is not enough protein, man. Like people don't realize that they're not getting nearly enough protein. Like I've spoken to a few people, especially lately, like they don't understand like the importance of their protein intake, and they're just like, oh yeah, well, like, I eat enough food. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what do you eat? And they tell me, and there's like 30 grams of protein in their day. I'm like, dude, like you're not gonna get anywhere with that. They're like, oh yeah,
Right.
like I'll have like this or that and da da da. And I'm like, okay, but like it's all empty. Like people, and again, it comes back to this stigma of like people think, oh, I want to lose weight, I'm just gonna eat salad.
Mm.
Like that's not how it works. Like I mean, to a degree, but it's not the right way to do it. Like
Mm.
if you just eat salads all the time, yeah, you're gonna fucking probably lose weight because you've got no calories in your system. You're also gonna feel shit. Your
Mm.
body's gonna be run down. If you're training, you're gonna have no strength. Like all of these things work in tandem with each other. So going from no diet plan to a diet plan, say for example, you go to day zero training. You're like, hey, what's up? Like, I want to lose weight and gain muscle. I want to get in shape for summer. I want to be, because out here in Australia, we are going into summer,
Yeah.
which I know for you guys is probably backwards.
Yeah.
But we've got 30 degrees Celsius days. Again, another thing that we do differently to you guys. 30 degrees Celsius days, which, is like 100 Fahrenheit or 95 Fahrenheit or something like that. It's hot. Like it's hot, and people are going to be going to the beach over the next 2 months. So it's like this silly season where everyone is eating a bit more. It, if you want the summer body, like you've just got to understand what you're putting into your system.
Mm.
And so tracking your macros and your calories is going to ultimately get you the best result with your training. And they do work hand in hand. Like you can't just, like, if you're already training, you can't just keep training and not change your diet and expect a result. Like that's the definition of insanity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again and
Mm.
expecting a different result.
Yep.
If you want to change, you've got to make a change. Like right now, like I said, I'm transitioning into a cut. I want to get a little bit of body fat off. It's not so much for summer or the beach or anything like that. I don't care about all of that. Like I'll go to the beach if I want to go to the beach. But for me, it's just like I know that at the end of my previous bulk, I've got a little bit of excess body fat now. I want to cut that back, and I need to transition into less calories. I need to, do a little bit more cardio, which I hate with a passion. And, even if it's just as simple as getting 20 minutes of steps in a day or 30 minutes of steps in a day, it's more than what I was doing. So those extra calories burnt are going to come off my caloric intake. Well, not my caloric intake, but calories in versus calories out for the day. And ultimately, if I consistently do that, it's going to drop off. So, yeah, it can be hard going from no diet plan to a diet plan. And Jack, I'm sure you know this as well. Like, it's so easy sometimes to just order food. It's
Mm.
so easy just to drive past McDonald's and grab something, or drive past Taco Bell. And Lord knows I miss Taco Bell from the States because it is so good. Um, I still remember my order, bro. 2 steak quesadillas and a cheesy bean burrito on top.
That's
Like I was just like, and I haven't lived in America for, what are we, 2023? I was out there in 2015, so it's 8 years since I've lived in America. I still remember my Taco Bell order,
wow.
and I think about it all the time. So it's like it's like I'm still a fat kid at heart, but like I understand nutrition and I understand training of food, and you know, I guess you just got to know what you're doing, and that is the biggest problem where people go wrong. They don't know what they're doing. They don't want to pay for help. And I get this all the time. People come to me, they join up to the gym. They're like, yeah, like I want to lose weight. I want to do this, blah, blah, blah. And we check in with them a couple of weeks later. They choose not to get advice from a trainer to start out. They just join the gym and expect that them coming and them doing whatever is going to help. We check in with them like 4 to 6 weeks later. How's your training going? Oh, like I haven't really made much progress. I don't think it's working. It's like, okay, well, like, did you get some advice from a trainer when you started? They're like, no, I just joined.
Mm.
It's like, that's why the services are there. That's why it's discounted to start out when you join, because the advice you're going to gain from that trainer to begin with is going to put you on the right path. So, um, yeah, just people think they know more than they know when
Hmm.
they really don't. And when you talk to them, one of the big things is protein. They're just not getting enough of it, and they're probably eating too much of something else. And if it's not protein, well, then there's only two other things that it could be, and it's carbs and fat. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I just think that people think they know way more than they actually do, and it's hindering their results rather than going to somebody who actually knows what they're talking about, and can help them out in terms of that. So, yeah, if you're not on a diet plan and you don't know how to calculate your macros, you don't know how to calculate your caloric intake, or what your calorie deficit would look like, there are tools, man. Like the internet is incredible. Like you can literally search up calorie calculators and macro calculators. You've got apps like MyFitnessPal and things like that that can help you with all of those things. Or if you're lazy and you don't want to do it yourself, hire someone to do it for you. There are people out there that will go in, they'll talk to you, see what your daily activity is like. They'll figure out what the best caloric intake for you is, what your training looks like, what you should be doing, what you should be eating. And if you want them, if you're really lazy and you want them to write up a meal plan for you, they can do that too. Like they can go, hey, today you're going to eat X amount of salmon and rice with this, and these are going to be your veg. If you need someone to baby step you through it, that's fine, but like sometimes that's what people need, and it's okay to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't think, oh, I know everything, I'm gonna do it. Like, no.
Right.
Like, I
Yeah.
talk to personal trainers, I learn from personal trainers. Jack, you've got a coach, you're learning from your coach. Like,
Mm.
we're in shape and we're still seeking more knowledge and more training advice and diet advice every single day to get better. So,
Mm.
that's my little rant. I know I carried on a little bit there
No,
for
that's
a
good.
second, but
I love.
that's just I'm very very passionate about like food and things like that, and the people that come up with excuses. And here at Day Zero, we don't tolerate excuses, so we had to
No.
had to get that in check real quick. So
Yeah, yeah, and I want to jump off. I want to make some, distinctions and jump off a couple of points you made, and one of those is asking for help because I think a lot of people,
help
um,
me.
are. I think a lot of people are. Some people don't want to ask for help, or some people, when
No.
they get the help, they aren't ready to receive that. And I think both of those are okay places to be. Like wherever you're at in your fitness journey, whether you've got it figured out, whether you don't, whether you know what you're doing, whether you don't, like everybody's on their own path. Some people are 19 and ripped and know exactly what they're doing and have some of the best coaches in the world, and some people are 45, some people are 60, some people are 80 and they're just getting into the gym. So
Mm.
everybody's on their own, everybody's on their own journey, right? And it's important to understand and be real, be fucking real with yourself, and be truthful and honest with yourself. Say, where am I at? What can I do better? How can I get better? Um, and so that's the first point that I kind of want to touch on, and that kind of feeds into my second point, um, which is wherever you're at right now. I Unless you are going for a specific uh like competition or something like that, um I always want to, whether there's changes in the workout, changes in the diet plan, and this is something I'm still figuring out, but I always
Mm.
want to try my best to ease people in to a diet plan. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's very, for the general population and for people who are trying to achieve certain goals. A lot of the time, I don't think it's best to just jump from, um, I'm not eating on a diet. I'm eating whatever I want. To here's 5 meals a day. Here's 100 grams of this. Here's 50 grams of this. Like that can be overwhelming. And even if somebody
Mm.
that's
For
competing, that
sure.
can be overwhelming for them too. And so,
Mm.
so I think the most important thing that I believe needs to be like fleshed out about this topic is that it doesn't happen in 2 weeks, and that
No.
to understand it, and like you're speaking about, there's a lot of moving pieces and there's a lot of moving parts, and to understand it fully, um you're not gonna know the ins and outs of diet, nutrition, and how that changes your body right away, because you have to implement changes and understand how your body transitions. A lot of the time, your body won't see the effects of the food that you're eating till a week later, right? That's very common.
Yeah.
It's very common. If you know, a week and a half, right? So you're not going to see the changes you're implementing right away, and that's really important. And it's really important to kind of walk slowly into that too. Some people are ready to do it quicker, you know, than others, but that's why it's important to have a personal trainer, to work with a coach. And some people can just jump into a diet plan, or like, yes, give me the recommendations. I want to go to the store right now and get the proper stuff for me. Let's get after it, and that's great. But if somebody's moving from no diet plan to a diet plan, that's a situation where I want to take it in baby steps, and there's a couple of ways to do that. And the first thing I try to encourage people to do is to send me pictures of their food, to send me,
Mm.
and this is why it's important to work with somebody, to send me either photos or take notes or something like that of their food, because I've spent time looking at plates and like talking
Yes.
through with registered dietitians. What does this plate look like? How does it affect your body? How many calories, right? And so that's just an easy, quick step that people could do. Just snapping a photo of your food, send it over to a coach, or maybe look up, you know, on MyFitnessPal. Maybe you're scanning the QR codes. I know that they have an option for that. If you're not working with a coach. And so just tracking in some way your meals, whether you're taking notes on it, whether you're taking a photo of it, whether you have MyFitnessPal and you're writing the MyFitnessPal into your thing, even if you're not hitting your goals, even if you're not hitting your macros, even if you're not hitting your protein, it's important to start somewhere and lay a foundation. And the foundation comes from consistency. And that consistency is built through small steps over time. And so if you're trying to make a diet change, start small. Start with taking pictures of your meal. Start with just writing down how much water you drink every day. And then slowly, when you know, if you're working with a coach, or even if you're not working with a coach, start switching those meals out. So maybe instead of having a bagel,
Chicken and rice every meal.
well, maybe instead of having you know, a bagel and cream cheese for breakfast, you have, you know,
English muffins.
3 eggs and an English muffin with jam. Now that's a little bit different, but those eggs provide a little more nutritional value. Still similar fats, a little bit less than maybe a bagel with cream cheese, but also more protein. And the jam and the English muffin will provide more carbohydrates. So there's different ways that you can implement changes, right? And that's still a very balanced breakfast, right? And it's quick and easy, just like bagel with cream cheese, you know. So that's where the change is made, in those small ways over time. Because if you can be consistent with small things like that, then you can be consistent when you know, maybe 4 or 5 months down the road, you're on a diet plan and you're on a nutrition plan, and all of a sudden you're seeing crazy changes. So that's where I encourage people to start. Just small, just with ease the tension, ease the friction between yourself and the diet plan. Because the reality is, people have habits that they've built up, right? They, you know, it's 11 p.m. And this is real shit. It's 11 p.m. It's 11:30 p.m. It's 12 p.m. midnight, and you open the fridge and you grab, you know, the fattiest thing, because your brain sees it and you're not even thinking about it, but you grab the fattiest thing in the fridge, right? And you eat that, and that's 500 calories that you don't even realize,
Give me
right?
that slab of cake.
Exactly. Well, that's, you know, there's cake in there or something like that, and
Pumpkin pie.
and yeah, especially now, you know, yeah, there's so much pie. Kevin says he ate one slice of pumpkin. Josh
That's a
says
lie.
he didn't eat a full pie, and I just don't believe either of them right there.
I don't believe it either. Right.
And so those are real moments that happen, right? Like, oh, I'm craving this. I'm just gonna eat it, you know, because it doesn't matter. And so I think that I think taking it slow is you know, one of the biggest things. The other thing is being aware that it's a process, right? Being aware that it's a process. Because being aware it's a process and not beating yourself up for failing, because the reality is everybody is going to fail. And some people may argue with me and say that that is like you're setting up a negative mindset in your head. But there's times where I don't eat on plan. And in my check-ins with my coach, I have to be like, I didn't eat on plan. But the only way that you're going to see sustainable change and progress is if you're honest with what you're doing. Now, if it's a habit, right, then that's something different.
Yeah, then that's a problem.
But if you have, like, if you don't eat all your protein for your day, or if you don't eat all the calories for the day, or if you ate too many calories for the day, like, be honest with yourself and be aware that it's a process and it's a journey. And the more comfortable you can get with that, the easier it's going to be to attack the day in the right way. If you can be comfortable with the fact, like, okay, you're going to wake up, you're going to set a high standard for yourself. I'm going to hit all these meals. And then you get to the end of the day, it was insane. And all you want to do is lay down and eat a bagel with cream cheese. Or, eat something, that slice of cold pizza that you had, 3 days ago, with the fam. And if you eat that, it's not the end of the world. But understand that it's a journey, it's a process. You're working to get better, right? So that's the other thing. I think, to kind of wrap up this section of the podcast and this question, how to transition from no diet to a diet. It's important to be honest with yourself and where you're at. And if you have, not only if you have trouble with that, but if you are trying to achieve those goals in the gym, working with somebody who has a better understanding, I would encourage everybody who's listening to find somebody who has more of an understanding of nutrition and training. And that's why I'm working with a coach, because I don't have all the understanding and the knowledge yet, right? So finding people who can feed into you in those ways, teach you about nutrition, teach you about fitness, work with you, coach you, stuff like that. Finding somebody and a community, and that's what I want to build here with Day Zero, finding a community where we can build each other up, educate each other, learn from each other, and get better every single day and raise that standard for ourselves, because that's how we're going to get better, is if we just raise that standard for ourselves. So
Yeah, definitely. And I think one thing that's important too, and I'm going to hit you with the quote of the day right here real quick. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail, right? That is our quote of the day. Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. And that is super important when it comes to food. If you guys are not preparing food with the mindset, whether, and it doesn't mean you have to meal prep 12 meals at a time, like whenever you are preparing food, whether you're just making dinner or you're making lunch or you're making this, like you need to understand what's going into this meal. What ingredients am I putting in? What does that look like from a calorie perspective and a macronutrients perspective? You can't just whack whatever in there and be like, yeah, this will help me lose weight. Like, you don't know that, especially if you don't have the understanding of nutrition like a professional does. So it's one of those things where, yeah, cool, if you're meal prepping and you weigh everything out and you use MyFitnessPal or one of these apps to track what's in every single meal, then you're probably going to see great results if you can stick to that. Sometimes that's not sustainable for everyone. We're used to doing it. We're used to eating, chicken and rice or the same thing 4 days in a row and getting bored with it and then trying to switch it up and make it so it's not boring. But that's just what we do. That's what we understand is the most effective way to get the results that we want. But that doesn't have to be for everyone. Like, you can have a different meal for lunch every day, a different meal for dinner every day. But as long as you're preparing with an understanding of what's going into those meals, like, you can still have really great results and not be eating the same thing all the time. So yeah, before we move into the next section, I just wanted to leave you guys with failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So I'll leave that and let it simmer for a little bit while we transition.
Yeah, that's really good, Dylan. I love that. Yeah, so we're all right. So we're gonna
Hey,
move
I
on.
didn't
We're
make
gonna
that.
move on.
Someone told me that. Again, someone with higher knowledge
Exactly.
told me
Yep.
that. So I'm just
Yep.
passing it on to everyone else as proving a point. Right?
No, I seriously, yeah, I love it, and you're so right. It's take that knowledge from people, and if you're able to pass it on to others, that's you know it's gonna help. You're gonna have such an impact on so many people's lives, whatever area, whatever your profession is, whatever. Yeah, that's very true, man. Um, all right, we are going to transition to kind of the second topic of today. And this is a conversation that's kind of been going around. I, it's been around in the fitness community for a while, but this specific style of training has, last week we talked a little bit about powerlifting and bodybuilding styles and hypertrophy and stuff like that. And this particular tool in the toolbox is sparking some conversation within the fitness community. And so there's a baseline of understanding that I'm gonna touch on really quick and give an example of really quick before we start talking about this. So the discussion is around long length partials, right? That's the correct term, long length partials. So essentially, what long length means is when the muscle is at the bottom of the movement, uh, it is in a stretched position. So that's when the muscle is the longest, hence lengthened. So I'll give an example right now. So when if I'm doing a bicep curl, um, doing a bicep curl, right now my bicep is in a stretched position. This is when the fibers of my bicep are the longest, right? But if I do a curl, if I have a dumbbell in my hand and I do a curl, now my bicep is in a shortened position, right? The fibers have shortened up and they're closer together. Everything's tighter, right? This is the concentric portion of the motion, and this is the eccentric portion of the motion. So when people are talking about long length rep partials online, what that means is that you do your normal set, right? I do, let's say, 10 bicep curls, and then I can't get it all the way up, right? So instead of going full range of motion, just like this, I'm going partial range of motion. So maybe from the lengthened position to only slightly contracted, and then back to lengthened, right? So that means doing more reps and trying to go to failure in this range of motion right here, as opposed to this full range of motion here. So I have a little bit, and I wanted to shout out Jeff Nippert, who we talked about last week, but he makes some very educational videos, like 4 million subs on YouTube. Go check him out. He's got so much educational content. And so I wanted to play a little bit of his video because he kind of breaks down the science behind some of these long length partials. And then we're kind of going to talk about them a little bit and how we can implement them into our own training. So I'm going to play a little bit from his video. Let's see.
The last few years, a growing pile of research has shown that it is in fact
Oh.
the stretched part of the range that triggers the most muscle growth, not full range of motion per se. Just consider this. As of now, there are 8 studies comparing long-length partials to short-length partials, and 7 of those 8 studies found that long-length partials were better for muscle growth. One study found no difference, and no studies
Turn that volume up a little bit.
But it gets even better, because we now also have 5 studies comparing a full range of motion to long-length partials, and 4 of those 5 studies found that long-length partials were better for muscle growth than a full range of motion. Just one study.
All right, so we don't have to go through all that because there's a lot of studies and stuff like that. But the reason I wanted to show his video is because that kind of gives an outline of like the studies that have been being done and how they all speak to the effectiveness of long length partials. So, Dylan, I don't know if you've implemented this into your training at all, but I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this conversation.
Yeah, man. And it's one of those things, like, I don't have a ton of knowledge on this subject, and I only sent this to you because it was new information for me, and seeing it and, going, oh, that's interesting, like seeing the research and the science behind it. you know, I've definitely been one to do partial reps before, but it was only once I had, you know, fully maxed out on whatever exercise I was doing. So for example, if I'm doing say a dumbbell lateral raise, you know, training my shoulders or whatever, I will do the reps with full range of motion. And then obviously once I can't get any full reps out after that, I will look to do partials following that. And I find that, you know, I don't know if directly, and you might be able to speak to this a little bit more. I find I get a better muscle pump when I do partials at the end of a set. I have not tried yet doing only long length partials, but I assume it's one of those tools that you can use in combination with your full lifts and with your full movements to build muscle. But I see a lot more people doing it now. You see like the likes of Chris Bumstead, Sam Sulek, all these big like fitness influencers that are big guys, like jacked guys, starting to incorporate, you know, partials into their workouts and things like that. So, you know, there's no doubt that it works. You know, obviously from what Jeff is saying in his videos, he has the scientific knowledge behind why it works. But up until recently, like people would say, "Oh, you're half repping," or "Oh, you're doing this," and it's like, yeah, like I am. That's the point. Like I can't get any more full reps out. Like I'm gonna half rep. It's better than just like not getting full rep or getting the full reps out and then not doing anything else, even though I've got more in the tank to push a little bit further. Why wouldn't you use that last bit of energy to get out, you know, 5, 6, 7 partial reps at the end of your set to get even more work in? Like you're just putting more work into the muscle. So it makes sense from that standpoint. Whereas these, I guess these people that are so, you know, glasses on the nose, push them up and be like, well, technically, if you're not doing the full range of, no, shut the fuck up. Like it's not, it's not about doing everything perfectly. Like you need to put stress on the muscle. You need to strain your muscle to, well, not strain, that's probably not the best word, but you need to stress your muscle to its
If you're
maximum
not
capacity in
straining your
order to see
muscle
growth.
every day in the gym, you're doing it
Yeah,
wrong.
why not? Right, why not, you know, go with that one? But yeah, but like if you're not putting the maximum amount of stress on your muscles and you're just doing the same thing every time you work out, you're not going to improve. You're not going to get any stronger. You're not going to get any bigger. Like if you just go in and do the same thing every single day, your body's going to adapt to that. And it's going to be like, okay, well, this is normal. This is a regular part of the day. So adding partial reps in is a good way to put more work into your workout without adding tons of time onto the end of it. Like you don't have to do, you know, 40 sets per body part. You know, like you can do, you know, 20 really hard sets in a workout or 15 really hard sets with partials at the end of each set to go through and push through and make sure you're getting the maximum amount of work from it. Each workout that you go into. And I think partials is a great way to add extra work into a workout. But yeah, obviously you probably speak from a little bit more experience being qualified as a trainer. I'm just a dude who lifts. So you know?
Just a dude who lives. No, man. Yeah, I love that. I want to touch on what Kevin's saying here in the X chat. He said, "I don't have a tank. I just keep going."
Mm-hmm.
He
Yes,
said,
sir.
he said it's all mental. And yo, Kevin, you're absolutely right. A lot of you know pushing through the end of a lift or something is mental. And if you're not straining mentally a little bit, you could definitely be lifting you know a little bit heavier. Um, but I think, like you said, long length partials can be used in tandem with full range of motion reps. So I don't think going into the gym and only working, you know, only working this range of motion in your chest idea. You're not going to build strength in any other range of motion in your chest, but working a full range of motion and then using the science and the knowledge of, you know, partial reps to rep out in that lengthened position is going to maybe add a little bit more size and muscle and strength to the muscle rather than if you were to just work in that lengthened position or if you were to just work full range of motion. So I think it's something that I don't think it's groundbreaking, right? But the new data shows that it's probably not a bad idea to throw in some extra reps at the end. And even before this conversation came up, like Hani Rambod, fantastic coach, 24-time Mr. Pro creator. Check him
Go.
out. He has developed a system called FST7, which is a little bit different than what we're talking about, and maybe we could touch on that later. But part of that is using those partial reps to get the most out of a lift. And so instead of just stopping when you can't go to full range of motion anymore, do a couple of reps, partials. That's why they're called partials. Do a couple of partial reps, pressing all the way up, maybe here, boom, and that's as much as you can get, and that's gonna get a little bit extra out of that muscle. It's gonna strengthen that muscle. It's gonna tear those muscle fibers a little bit more and allow for more muscle growth. So I think it's great. Not only is it mental, Kevin, like you're saying, like two more, come on, three more, like, and then assisting somebody and helping them with those long length partials, or it's not just mental, it's physical as well, right? So and also you just get a better pump. Like you said, like honestly, you just like like working in that lengthened position. The lengthened position of the muscle, it's the weakest position. So if you're fucking burning that out, like you're just gonna get a nasty pump.
Yeah, it's
out
just
of that.
on fire after that point. Like, dude, it's
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's don't be confused if you're seeing stuff online that says you should train like this, you should train like this. It's all tools in the toolbox. A lot of people have different methods. It's about finding the method that's best for you, and that's why it's important to work with a coach and work with somebody who can kind of help you find that best method for you. Not everybody will benefit crazy from partial reps. A lot of people will benefit from 85 to 95% intensity on full range of motion reps of 3 sets, and that's it. So it's a tool in the toolbox, and clearly, as pointed out, Jeff Nippert organized that very nicely for us. But clearly, it's a tool that I think a lot of people, anybody who's in the gym, really can take advantage of. Kevin says, "I don't have muscles, so it's all mental for me. I am water, like Bruce Lee." If you guys,
water, my friend.
If you guys don't follow
water,
Kevin, if you guys don't follow any of these guys in the chat, Kevin, Josh, or Mattia on X, you gotta follow these guys. They're awesome.
If you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup.
Exactly.
Water, my friend. That's the. I love that Bruce Lee quote. That's awesome. Yeah. Shout out Kevin. That's so good. I love that.
That's so good, bro.
That's funny.
That's so good.
Yeah,
so,
man.
Yeah, man.
For sure,
I mean, I don't really have anything else on that topic. I don't know if you do.
Not so much like on the same topic, but you just talk about training styles and research and things that go into evolving as lifters, or evolving, I guess, as a science in lifting and bodybuilding and things like that. Years ago, and this is probably a long time ago, if you couldn't do a pull-up, you couldn't do a pull-up, right? It was just one of those things. Whereas, as we went on, you got to the point where then people realized, oh, if I do pull-ups with a resistance band, it's a little bit easier, and my body will adapt to doing it with a resistance band, and then a lesser resistance band, and then, oh, what do you know? I did my first pull-up unassisted. Or you have things like negative reps, where you might step up onto a bench and lower yourself down from the chin-up position to help yourself on that lower portion of a pull-up. These are all tools, like you said, that help you with your lifts. Why not utilize them to get stronger? It's clear, and it shows in history of lifting that things like this can be beneficial to your full range of motion lifts. So why not use something like a partial to be stronger, like you said, in that lengthened position, so that you can help assist your full range of motion reps. It's not a matter of, oh, I'm cheating, or, oh, I'm doing half reps. Like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about half reps. We're talking about partials for a purpose. And there you go. You can use that as well. Partials for a purpose is one of those things. It's a tool. It's not your be all and end all. It's not your entire workout. You're not going to go in the gym and do every single exercise and every single set as partial reps. No, they're going to be, like Jack said, in tandem with your full lift, with your range of motion lifts, to help you get stronger in that lengthened position, which is, like Jack said, where you are weakest. So that's what you want to be doing. You don't want to just do partials. You want to use it to help benefit the rest of your lift and the benefit of your strength. So the same way you would use a negative on a pull-up, the same way you would use an resistance band on a pull-up, use partials to help get yourself stronger in your full lifts.
Yep. Yeah.
That's me.
Yep. I love that. I think you hit it all. You hit the nail on the head. You're doing it for a purpose. You're not just doing it just to do it. You're not just doing it because somebody else told you to do it on the internet. You're doing it because it helps your lifts. It'll help your full range of motion lifts. And something I won't delve too deep into right now, but maybe we can in future episodes, is help you break through plateaus. If you have a plateau on the bench, on the deadlift or something like that, we can break through those plateaus on those big movements. So yeah, that kind of wraps it up for that conversation. You know, are partial reps better? The answer to that is partial reps are a tool in the toolbox, right? So yeah, just another tool with a purpose. Partials for a purpose. I like that. You can buy the merch at
Partials for a purpose. Hashtag partials for a purpose.
Yeah, that's good. But yeah, like I said, you guys, today it's going to be a little bit of a shorter episode. I know, Dylan, you got to go head to work soon. I appreciate you taking time out of your morning to do this. I just wanted to give a real quick shout out again to everybody in the X chat. We got Kevin, Josh, and Mattia in there. Those are the boys, man. Chatting all the way from Colorado. If you guys have an idea or want to take an idea to impact, or have a vision, or have a goal, or have a dream to take your idea and turn it into a business, the Innovators Think Tank is the place to do that. These guys every single week, for over half a year now, have been hosting the Innovators Think Tank, and it's where anybody can take their idea of business and come bring it in, share your ideas, give a 60-second pitch, listen to some ITT experts who will provide some just incredible value. That's every single Saturday. And if you guys are here on the X platform, you guys have to go check that out. I'm retweeting their stuff all the time, so if you follow this account, you'll definitely be able to see it. But they just provide incredible value to anybody with a business or idea. So go check them out. The Innovators Think Tank, hosted by Josh Hellman, co-hosted by Mattia and Kevin. Just incredible guys doing incredible stuff, changing lives truly in that Innovators Think Tank. So go check them out. And that's really all I had. Next week, we're going to have episode 3. And like I said before, episode 1 is going to go live on the Day Zero Training Podcast YouTube channel. And that link is in the chat on Twitch and wherever else Dylan drops it right now. And then this episode will be on there in a couple days. Check out on TikTok and YouTube Shorts. We're going to be posting some clips from these podcasts, which is it's going to be incredible. We got a nice little community building over there on TikTok, which is pretty cool. Dylan's all in control of that, and he's just absolutely killing it. So, yeah, check out. Also, we are on Spotify. That's so sick to say. Check us out on Spotify. And
5-star review for anyone listening over on the audio platform.
Drop a little review if you guys are on the go. You can listen over there. We're so incredibly grateful for every single person who's joined in to the Day Zero podcast. We couldn't do it without you guys. Thank you guys so much for listening to two dudes who like to lift, talk about lifting heavy ass shit. Thank you guys so much, and we will see you all next week. Peace.
Bye.
Come and light me up.